Hey guys, one of the assignments that I'd like you to do is kind of a long-term assignment, not one that's going to take you a tremendous amount of time, but something that I'd like you to keep track of over a period of time, is the weather. So what I'd like you to do at the start of class each day is to get on the Chromebook and go to NOAA.gov. And that's the National Weather Service, essentially. So if we go to this website, we can get weather data for our area from the National Weather Service. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Find Your Local Weather and type in the zip code for Goshen, 10924. There's Goshen. And go to See Full Forecast. And if we take a look at it, here's the basic forecast. And what I'd like you to do is for each day, each class day, Monday through Friday, from the day this video is posted until the day of my return, what I'd like you to do is keep track of the weather. And I'd like you to basically keep a little logbook or a journal. You could do this in your notebook, or if you want to type it up, you could type it up too. But at some point, I'm going to ask to see your notes. And what I'd like you to do is keep track of the date. So for example, the day I'm doing this is September 24th. And we can see the weather for September 24th. And basically what I want you to do is record the date and then write a paragraph summary of the weather and what's happening outside, what the weather looks like, temperature, dew point, relative humidity, and so on. And basically write a paragraph synopsis or summary of what's happening with the weather. So when we take a look at this, well, here I could see today and it says partly sunny, high of 72. Well, okay, that's not very detailed. We could see clouds are going to be decreasing tonight, low of 47, but again, not too much information there. But one of the things that's really nice is we can come down and scroll over to what's called the hourly weather forecast. And this I find very useful. And I'd like you to use this to help write your summary for each day of the weather. So here we have it for today, and we can see we've got lots and lots of graphs, a bunch of different graphs. And if we start at the first one, we have a double line graph. We have a green line and a red line, and this is measuring temperature and also what's called dew point. In a later video, you'll see that dew point, even though it's shown as a temperature, is actually a measurement of humidity. And that's something that you'll learn about later on. But for now, I'd like you to just record it. So for today, we could see here's, right now, it's about noon, almost noon. So there's the times down here. Here's 1 o'clock p.m. Here's 4 o'clock, right? So then that means if we're going from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, that would be 2, 3 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. So each line on the horizontal represents an hour in time. Here would be midnight, and now we're crossing over into Wednesday, September 25th, the next day. But on the vertical axis, we can see we have temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. The red line represents air temperature. And this makes a lot of sense. Our highest temperature is around 3 in the afternoon, maybe 2:30. And we can see it would be around maybe 70, 71, 72 degrees. And then, of course, as we move into evening, it gets cooler, like we would expect it to. And what I'd like you to do is keep track of the temperature changes, describe what's happening with the dew point. You can see the dew point's decreasing a little bit. Down here, we have another graph, and this one is showing wind speed and wind direction. The purple line indicates wind speed, how quickly the wind is blowing. And here we can see the wind is at a minimum down here. It's at a maximum in the afternoon. These lines are called feathers sometimes. These lines are these barbs coming off of the line graph. And they're showing wind direction. This is something that we'll talk about more in another video. But basically we can think of the top of the page as being north, bottom, south, right, east, and left, west. So this is showing the direction the wind is coming from, not the direction the wind is going. So again, we'll talk about this more in another video, but we can see that the wind is coming from the northwest. Here, over here, Now the wind is coming from the west. If we skip ahead to Wednesday, we can see the wind is forecast to come from the southwest. So it's the direction the wind is coming from. If we go down to the next graph, we have a triple line graph. We have 3 variables plotted on one graph. And we can see the blue line represents sky cover. That would be how cloudy it is as a percentage. There's a legend up here, sky cover is blue. Green is relative humidity, shown as a percentage. And we'll talk about that in another video too by itself. But for now, you could just record it and type it up in your summary of the weather. The brown line represents precipitation potential. Well, today it's a pretty sunny day outside. There's very little precipitation potential. The next line graph would be rain, or sometimes I think it's shown as a bar graph. And thunder. Well, with a low precipitation potential, we're not going to see any data here, right? So that's basically how we could kind of generate a rough summary of what we have going on. So I'd like you to write up a paragraph summary for each day that I'm out. And, again, when you just look here, there really isn't that much information. We could just say, well, partly sunny with a high 72. Well, you're not going to get a paragraph out of that. But to get the full paragraph and more information, well, now we could look at the weather graphs. And now you could write about temperature, dew point, wind speed, wind direction. You could write about relative humidity. You could write about precipitation potential, sky cover, potentially rain, snow, sleet, freezing rain, unlikely thunder in the winter, but it's possible. So all of these weather variables you can write about. Something else that you could look at that you might want to is radar and satellite images. And if you click here, we could see the radar for our area. Radar is a measurement taken from the ground, and it's invisible energy sent out from towers at airports and similar locations. And basically we're measuring reflectivity. Kind of like the way bats echolocate, radar beams go out in all directions and measure the reflections of the radar when it hits raindrops or snowflakes. And we can see there's not really a lot of color on the map. There's not much rain. Again, it's a sunny day on the day I happen to make this video. If we look at satellite images, well, now these are pictures taken from outer space. And we can see there's a whole variety of them. But you might want to just look at this. We could see true color daytime, and we could see where the clouds are, where it might be raining. Here we have a tropical storm in the Caribbean. It's still hurricane season, so kind of interesting. And here we can see clouds over New York, partly cloudy skies. We could see that in the satellite image here, which is kind of a neat thing. We could look to the west coast. We can see there's a storm over here, near Oklahoma and Louisiana. And then if we come across, we see some distortion. Here we could actually see the blackness of space and the curvature of Earth's surface. These are images taken from outer space by satellites. And there's a variety of different types of satellite images, but it's something you might want to just play around with. There's lots of different types to highlight different features, and that's something that we'll talk about more. The one other thing that I wanted to mention too that you might want to take a look at, if we go up into the search bar here, and I'm going to type in HPC surface analysis, and I'd like you to try this out too. We'll get WPC North American Surface Analysis. If I scroll down, we could click on without surface observations in color. And this is a weather map for today, right now. We could see September 24th. This is when I'm looking at this. They make these weather maps several times a day. The time is here, 13:34. It's basically military time, so this is a different way of keeping track of time. So we don't have confusion with AM and PM, essentially. And here we can see some fronts. Cold fronts, stationary fronts. You might have learned about this in 6th grade a little bit. So just some data you might want to take a look at. But essentially, what I want you to do, just to kind of recap, is to take a look at the National Weather Service website, and each day keep basically a journal or a logbook of the weather. and what the weather looks like out the window. You could get a quick little summary from here, but I'd like you to really dig into some of this data here and keep track of, even if you don't understand what the data means, keep track of it anyway. And as you learn more, the data will gradually start to make more and more sense to you. You might not understand at this point what dew point means. Write it down anyway. And with time, you'll get there. You know, weather is something that's very cumulative. And even if you don't understand what dew point means today, in 3 weeks' time, you probably will. Same with relative humidity and some of these other things too. So look at the data, keep track of it, just record the numbers, even if you don't really have a full understanding of their meaning at this point. You will by the end of the unit. So each day that you come into class, I'd like you to get your Chromebook, log in, do your weather update, keep track of the data, and write that paragraph describing the summary of the weather for each day that we have class, just Monday through Friday, and then get to the regular lesson materials. Okay, so for about the first 10 minutes or so of class, 5 minutes or so, I'd like you to do this every day. Look at the weather data, look at the weather variables, look out the window, see how things match up, and keep track of things. So that's it for now. Good luck.